I'm Emily Price. I'm the Executive Director of Healthy Birthday, Inc., the nonprofit that created the Count the Kicks public health campaign. I have two healthy children, my son Hayden, who is 11, and my daughter Lila, who is 6, and I live with my husband Dave in Iowa. My pregnancy with my son Hayden back in 2010 was considered healthy, normal pregnancy. I tried to do everything I could to give him the best start. During my 30-week appointment, my routine checkup, I mentioned to my doctor that I noticed a change in my son's movements in the last 24 hours or so, that it was different, that he wasn't moving as often, and I noticed something had changed. During that routine appointment at 30 weeks, when I spoke up and told my doctor that I had noticed a change in his movements, she took me very seriously, and she sent me to a different office for tests where they ran a non-stress test and an ultrasound to see what was happening, to see why my baby's movements had changed. And what they discovered on the non-stress test, that at 30 weeks, I was in preterm labor. I was in active labor. He was my first pregnancy, and so I did not know that I was in preterm labor. And so after that, what they did was they said, we're gonna send you across the street to the hospital because you are in labor and we want to keep your baby inside of you as long as we can. When we arrived, one of the first things they did was give me a shot. And they said, this is a steroid for your son's lungs. So if he does arrive this weekend at 30 weeks, this is gonna give him a better chance of survival. And when they said a better chance of survival is when the first time my husband and I realized how serious it was. You know, this was almost 12 years ago. There have been a lot of great advancements in the last 12 years, but 12 years ago, it was pretty scary to think of your son arriving at 30 weeks. At the hospital, after they gave me the shot, they put me on monitoring, constant monitoring, hooked up to a non-stress test, watching his heart rate and his movements and things like that, and was then checked in for a 4-day stay at the hospital. Something else that they did, in addition to checking me regularly, was give me a pill called Procardia. And all the nurses in this room probably know what that is for. I think its original intention of that medicine was to lower blood pressure in people who have high blood pressure. I didn't have high blood pressure, but the second thing that Procardia does is help stop contractions. And so I was given that daily in the hospital, and it started to work. It started to weaken my contractions. And then after a 4-day hospital stay, they sent me home on strict bed rest, and they said, you can only get up to shower a couple of times a week, and you're gonna stay in bed this whole time. And daily pill of Procardia to help stop my contractions as best we could. And what you know, it worked. It worked. My son was born completely healthy in the 40th week of pregnancy, not a thing wrong, not a minute in the NICU. He was placed on my chest, and we laid there for a while, and it worked. They got him here safely in the 40th week. What was going through my mind through all of this, and I think my husband's mind, was just scared. We were just really scared. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We didn't know what was gonna happen, and it was just really scary. The tests, the constant monitoring, not knowing when the doctor or the nurse walked in the room again if they were gonna find something where he needed to be delivered in an emergency, or was he still there? It was extremely scary. They did everything they could to alleviate my fears, but it was still extremely scary. I think the last thing I would like to communicate today is listen to women every time they speak up. I had the knowledge that something was off with my baby, and my doctor and my nurse took me seriously, ran the proper tests, and got my baby here safely. That's what happens when we listen to your patients, when you listen to women when they have a concern, is you have the power to help improve their outcome and get them here safely. And so my message is thank you. Thank you for listening to women, and please keep doing it, because that's when babies arrive safely.